You're watching the 2021 Wallace Mayoral Interviews. This exclusive broadcast is brought to you in part by Sol & Serre, curator of fresh blooms and monthly subscriptions, using local flowers and foliage when available. Contact Sarah at Sol & Serre. Funky Monkey, offering the best Christmas gifts you'll ever find. Unique, hilarious, and one of a kind. Located at 604 Bank Street. And the Blackboard Cafe, Blackboard Market, Todd's Bookstore, and the Fox and the Hare Mountain Wear, your one-stop destination in Wallace.
Good evening and thank you for joining us for the 2021 Wallace Mayoral Interviews. I'm John Webb. Tonight in this exclusive report, we sit down with Mayor Lynn Mogensen and Councilwoman Heather Branstetter. All of this evening's questions have been submitted to us by the residents of Wallace. We flipped a coin, and tonight we'll hear first from Mayor Mogensen. Tonight's interviews right after this.
These interviews were made possible by Loving Care and More in Silverton. For all your in-home care needs, call us today for a free consultation. Zanetti Brothers in Osborne, providing construction services in the Silver Valley and beyond since 1935. Call us today. Q's Haircuts in Wallace, 16 plus years in the business of making men good looking with experienced, precise haircutting. Julie Zook at Silver Legacy Realty, offering a wealth of real estate knowledge to assist clients in their real estate transactions. And Wallace Ace, a family-owned hardware store and lumberyard, serving the community for 50 years.
Well, Mayor Mogensen, thanks for sitting down and speaking to your constituents whom you've been serving for 4 years now. You're up for another 4 years. How come?
Because I love Wallace. I was born and raised here. Born in Wallace, raised in Osborne, but basically raised in Wallace. Wallace and the Valley has always been good to me. It's time for me to be good to the Valley and do my part and hopefully have Wallace survive and thrive.
You know, I guess I hadn't really thought about running for office at that time, but then once I got into the position of council member, I realized how much I really love serving. And when it came time for people to step up and sort of think about running for the position of mayor, I decided that I would like to open a conversation about this town. It's an interesting moment in Wallace's history, and we're at quite a transition period as far as growth and tourism goes. So I thought that it would be useful for us to have that conversation and that dialogue as a community about who we are, where we've been, and where we want to go in the future.
The most recent issue that has arisen in Wallace is the announcement of the U.S. bank closure. What have you done as mayor, and what do you plan to do if elected as mayor again to get a bank in Wallace for our businesses, residents, and our tourists?
I actually found out about this a little bit before the general public, and as I had said before, as soon as I found out, I made 2 phone calls. First phone call was to some people that potentially want to they do want to bring a bank into Wallace. And my second phone call was to our city clerk that said, U.S. Bank isn't going to support Wallace. Wallace isn't going to support U.S. Bank. Let's start shopping. I have since been in contact with people from Boise, Lewiston, and all over, getting different names of different banks and getting in contact with them. So hopefully to get one of them to move. I don't know that our chances are good for U.S. Bank to stay. I wish, that would be great. But I think they've finally said they're out. So we've been in contact with other banks and credit unions. We have to check all our avenues.
Any promising options that have said anything yet?
We've had a few pretty good leads, but at this time, I really am not at liberty to talk about that because I don't want to mess anything up.
Yeah, we definitely need to have a bank. It's, we're a county seat, which is another great reason to have a bank. We're right along I-90, and if we don't have a bank here, this place is going to fail to be a stopover. It's going to be a place that people pass on through instead of coming and spending their hard-earned dollars, and we don't want that. Businesses need to have a bank in order to thrive, and our business community needs to thrive in order for our neighborhoods to survive. So as far as going into the future, our current mayor has jumped onto this, and she's been doing a great job, I think, of showing leadership on this front. And it sounds like we'll probably do a combination approach of, recruiting a credit union to come probably into the First National building. That had been the plan for quite a while, and it just didn't materialize. And then it sounds like also some of the community really want us to fight and to keep US Bank here. I don't know how successful that would be, but there are a lot of older folks in our community who have trouble with transition to online, who are gonna have trouble pulling their money out of US Bank and moving it into a different credit union. So at least we should exhaust all of our resources before we just let go and let them move on. But unfortunately, we may not have much choice in the matter.
Explain to us what the Mountain Overlay District is and where the concept came from.
Well, I had a citizen contact me that was concerned about our mountains. When you drive into Wallace, what do you notice? You noticed our hillsides and a cute little mining town nestled in the hills. And that's really what draws a lot of people off I-90 into Wallace. So that was a concern. We don't want the beauty of Wallace ruined. What is it? It's kind of a long explanation. Basically, it's protecting our view shed, setting things in place where if people do build, they build responsibly, and it doesn't ruin the visual aspect of Wallace.
What does that mean, though? Can somebody build a house up there? Can they build an apartment complex? What does that entail?
Well, that's kind of yet to be determined. We're hoping that it'd be, say, and this is just totally off the cuff, this is nothing set in stone, one house per 2 acres, or, we just don't want it crammed in there and ruin the view of Wallace.
The idea of a mountain overlay district is every city has an area of impact, and the area of impact extends beyond the city limits. In our case, it extends up into the mountains, and we have some influence over whether or not development can happen in our area of impact. We have to work together with county planning and zoning. So it's kind of like a dance or a series of interlocking puzzle pieces where you have policy at the city planning and zoning level and policy at the county planning and zoning level in order to bring about, in this case, protections of the scenic area that we value so much. So the Mountain Overlay District would prevent development that is unseemly or that ruins the lovely scenic nature that we have here. Along the I-90 corridor, each town can decide whether or not they want to adopt the Mountain Overlay District, and hopefully in the case of Wallace, we will adopt it at some point in 2022. And that will prevent development that is garish. We're talking if someone wanted to build big condos that we could see from down here, if somebody wanted to build a giant home with these huge windows that reflect, they wouldn't be able to do that. You'd have to develop instead thoughtfully and with respect for nature, and also I would hope the historic charm of our town too.
So this is a project that you want to go forward with if elected?
Oh, absolutely, yeah, I fully support it. I have been involved in the historic preservation plan aspect of our comprehensive plan rewrite. And so I've been sort of devoting my talents to the in-town building and structural preservation, whereas we've had a lot of people working really hard on the Mountain Overlay District to bring it to where it is. And I think it's got a lot of support from town. It seems to be a very popular initiative.
As you know, tourism is the core of our economy. What have you done as mayor to protect that and promote it? And what do you plan to do if reelected?
I've always been a very big proponent of tourism. Honestly, I'm a miner at heart, if done responsibly. But Wallace couldn't survive right now with tourism. I mean, it's obvious. So I promoted, I mean, I haven't gone out and waved any banners, but I promote tourism. I greet tourists as they come in. With my job, I'm almost like tour guide, you know. Where are your museums? What do I eat for lunch? Where are your antique stores?
Well, actually, I started promoting tourism here when I wrote a book about the history of the area. And so that was even before I guess the book came out while I was on council, but of course I've been working on it for 6 years before that. And I think that it actually has brought some people into town. It's brought some notoriety to Wallace in that it showcases an aspect of our history that not many had documented, that was sort of hidden from the past. And now that we have it out there, it also kind of shows off, I guess, a lot of our history that is based in who we are as people, as an identity, as tough, independent-minded mining community who, fights for what we love and to protect what we love. And we also kind of, do our own thing here, and we have a live and let live mentality that I think is really important for us to value. As tourists come in, we have to be able to translate our history and our culture and our way of life to others. And so that was my contribution toward that. As far as since I've been on the council, I really support our business district. I think our businesses are doing such a good job. We have awesome restaurants, especially thinking back to, comparison to when I was younger. This place is just, it's really catering to the tourists now, and it's able to do so with rave reviews from people.
After about 4 years, the city pool is expected to finally open up this coming summer. Hopefully April is what I'm hearing. How did you help in the process of getting that repaired, and what's the current status of the pool?
Current status is we just had a special meeting last night. There were some discovered cracks in the pool that weren't discovered before, so we've had to figure out funding for that. It's good. It'll work out. It'll be good. I'll be the first to say, give credit where credit's due. I wasn't the major fundraiser in this. I definitely was support. Major fundraising is you have to hand it to Dean Cooper and Dennis O'Brien, along with numerous other people. We've got the Friends of the Pool. We've got Hollis Anderson and Janet Howard and Connie Lister. Janet, we took a couple kicks in the teeth with the pool. We put it out for bid. We were ready to go. We didn't have the funding. We didn't have the funding. So we couldn't accept the bids because we couldn't legally, we didn't have the money. So we'd have to start over. And we were all starting to get kind of depressed, and Holly Anderson was our cheerleader and said, come on, we can do this. We're Wallace. Let's do this. And she really rekindled the fire, and that's when the fundraising efforts really began.
Yeah, the current status of the pool, we're excited to say, is that we're going to open for next summer. We just reviewed some change orders last night to okay a little bit extra on the project that we anticipated we'd probably have to do that what was not a part of the original plan. As far as getting us to here, in 2018 we discovered that the pool wasn't holding water, and then maybe about a year went by until April 23rd of 2019. People were getting really tired of seeing no action on that project, and so I organized a community meeting where we brought together more than 50 people to talk about the future of Wallace's pool. We brainstormed different ideas about what could happen, and out of that meeting, the Friends of the Wallace City Pool was formed, revitalized really. They were here before, and now they're back. And then we started in earnest on fundraising. I worked a lot on helping secure grant funding. That's kind of more in my wheelhouse. So I helped Christina find a lot of the grants that we ended up applying for. And as well, I kept on the engineers for the pool design project. That was one area where we kind of kept on getting delayed, and I was really frustrated about that, actually. I spent a lot of time on the phone with them, talking with them about it. And then finally, as far as the later donations that came in, I helped secure some private donations, and also worked really hard on the community block development grant. We didn't quite get enough income surveys in, and we had to qualify on the basis of our income in order to get that block grant, which was huge, $250,000, maybe $225,000, I don't remember, but it was about $250,000. And anyway, I ended up going door to door, asking people to fill out the form and hand it back to me. Michelle Bisconner, another council member, also did that. Amy Lynn did that. And then also our city clerk treasurer, Christina Larson, went with her sons. So it was really a group effort to kind of make that final push. And then with that final push, they demanded basically the grant in order to secure it and satisfy it. They said we had to tell everywhere else that we were going to get our funding from, and that sort of provided the motivation for the rest of the private donations to come in.
Affordable housing has become an issue in Wallace. What's your solution to that?
I work hand in hand with the Silver Valley Economic Development to help people find state and local funding. Always open for new structures for where structures existed before in Wallace. There's areas to build up Burke Road, 9 Mile, west of Wallace.
So I think that affordable housing is one of the things that we need to work on the most. It's a big project. It's going to take a while to solve this problem, and it's not unique to Wallace. It's happening all across the country. Thankfully, since it is happening across the rest of the country, we can also borrow some ideas from the rest of the country. You know, Wallace used to have 4,000 people here at one time, and now we have under 1,000, and we still don't have enough places for people to live. So I think that indicates that we need to get started on rehabbing more houses. There are already people rehabbing a lot of old historic houses. And then converting the downstairs of these two-story buildings, converting the upstairs of these 2-story and 3-story buildings downtown into apartments, having some more living space that renters can occupy. That means lining up incentives in order to help people get into these apartments. It's a lot of work and a lot of money to rehab an apartment building, to bring everything into a place where it's going to be livable. I spoke with David Sherman on planning and zoning about this. He said that they're not going to be requiring that everything is completely up to code as far as ADA when people do revitalize these upstairs of the downtown buildings because we can't be tearing up these historic buildings. So we'll get them into a safe place, but it won't be so limited as far as ADA code, and we'll find other places for people to live if they need those ADA requirements met.
An El Nino winter is predicted once again this winter, hopefully good ski hills this year. What's your plan for snow removal in town?
Snow removal. We have a great team. We've got Corey Harshman and Jaime Flores, and then we have our two steadies that we get every winter to help out. We run a 2-shift crew. Our main guys, Jaime and Corey, will work the day shift, and then we have 2 of our other people that we hire yearly. They come in at night and they haul off the snow that Jaime and Corey have plowed. The way we take care of it is our first priority is the buses and the school and the downtown. The South Hill is next, and then we move out into the residential, and then from there we move down to the alleys. The guys go through and they plow the snow to the center so we can get open roadways, and then our night crew comes back and hauls those off during the night.
So this is something that you want to continue doing then? You like the snow removal process you guys have?
I do, but I'm always open for suggestions.
Absolutely.
We've talked about, odd even parking on the sides of the street, but I'm always open.
I can't tell you how excited I am to think that hopefully we'll have a good snow year. I love it. Snow removal in town is always an issue. It seems like we have trouble keeping everyone happy. However, we have a great crew, and they do seem to be kind of on a flow in the last few years. I feel like an effective city manager doesn't micromanage and just hires really good people and then focuses on giving those good people the independence to make the decisions that they need to make. And we have a great public works director in Corey, and we have really great employees. And so I think that if we, as city managers, just sort of allow our people to do their thing, that's the correct thing to do. If we hire the right people, which we have.
Speaking of snow, some business owners have raised question about who's responsible for clearing the snow off the sidewalks. Should the city be responsible to do that?
I wish we had the resources to do that. It would take more manpower. It would take more equipment. Therefore, we'd need to get the funding from somewhere. I was raised that you do your part. You take care of if you see something that needs to be done, you do it. I don't see why the businesses can't shovel the snow in front of their own businesses. It only helps them. It's good business for them.
I hope this is another priority that I would like to work on in the future. I hope that we can find people, maybe potentially high school kids, to shovel the sidewalks in front of all of the buildings downtown and in the residential areas. We focus, so much money on snow removal. It's time that we also focus some effort and energy on snow removal of our sidewalks, because we have older people who, they fall, they break their hip, and it's a devastating injury once you get to a certain age. And I'm a walker. I walk my dogs around town, and so I understand how important it is for us to have well-maintained sidewalks as well. I'm hopeful that maybe we can appeal to HECLA for some charitable money, similar to how I believe they provide for the Flower Project watering to happen during the summer. So if we can provide flowers during the summer months to be an inviting summer town, I hope that we can also invite people to walk in our beautiful town by keeping our sidewalks well maintained.
What are your top 3 budget concerns, and how will you address them?
As always, snow removal. So just keep on keeping on and open for suggestions. That's one of my main concerns, because that's one of our biggest budgetary concerns is snow removal. Next is infrastructure. We've got the sewer systems to be concerned about, which thankfully we just had those all replaced. Stormwater drains, retaining walls, and drawing a blank.
Okay.
Oh, and of course the pool. So those are my three big concerns.
Snow is always a budget concern. Snow removal. You know, we've done a pretty good job of that. I'm sure that we could be more efficient. Budgetary wise, I'm worried about how we're going to pay for pool employees and hire and keep and retain pool employees after we start to open up. So that's something that we're going to have to address soon, probably by January. And I just hope that we're able to find the people who we need and that we're able to pay them what they're worth in order to make sure that we get good people in. I've been looking through our city revenue sources, and the assessor told me that he expects the valuation of the downtown businesses to increase because there have been some higher sales than we've ever really had in the past. And so the businesses, the buildings downtown have been undervalued in the past. Unfortunately, business owners and those who own these downtown buildings are not going to be thrilled to hear about that. But as our property values increase, the amount of tax that we have to levy, decreases. So hopefully we can get some more people into these buildings downtown and keep this trend in a positive direction. And, maybe we can get some more people living downtown, and then they can qualify for that homeowners exemption in these downtown buildings as well.
Even since I left for school this summer, coming back now, I see that the community has become noticeably divided. What role do you think you played in that, and how do you plan to bring our community back together?
I don't know if you can say any one person played a role in this. I would hate to think that I played a major role in it, because I am accessible. If you have questions, it's easy to find me. And I just think open communication, that's what we need to do. We need to keep our communication open. You have questions, ask. I have questions, I ask. And I think that's the biggest thing. And I think another big problem is, and a lot of people aren't going to like this, is Facebook. It's on the internet, so it has to be true. Well, it's not, people. I think that there's a lot of vile stuff, and I can't just blame it on Facebook. There's a lot of vile stuff that goes on the internet, and instead of people coming and asking questions, they take it for what it is, and they don't do their research. Do your research and ask your questions before you jump on a bandwagon that's not true.
I don't think that I actively played a role in dividing our town. My slogan is "A Wallace for all of us," which promotes unity. I do think that there have been people sowing the seeds of dissent simply because I ran for office. I think that after things settle down, no matter who wins, that the town will come back together and unite. It's just, the nature of oppositional logic is that if one person says, keep Wallace, Wallace, then then the implication is that the other person doesn't want to keep Wallace, when in fact, nothing could be further from the truth. I love Wallace. I want to keep the amazing things that make Wallace great. I want to protect us. I want us to be proactive in looking into the future and seeing what protections we need to get in place now so that we can be proactive, we can protect ourselves without, being reactive. We have a lot of, there's going to be some threats to our town. We've been lucky in that, the moneyed interests have been slow to arrive here. But I worry that it is only a matter of time. And so we need to make sure that we have protections in place. And I'm on board with that program. Essentially, the current mayor and I agree on most issues. I think that is why people have sown these seeds of division, because there's really not much that you can be divisive about except for like who's friends with who, or who worked with who on a festival board. I've been accused of a lot of things, but they're untrue, and I can just keep my head up and know who I am actually friends with and who I actually value in this town. And I don't know if that's how to put it, but what I mean is I feel like we will come together after this is all over. And I just hope that everybody else feels the same way. I'm from here, and the fact that people would question like my loyalty toward this town was really hurtful. Some of the things that people have said were, attacks on my character. That was frustrating, but it's okay. It's fine. That's probably to be expected, and I'm really eager to let things go and move on. And of course, people aren't perfect. And in running, I didn't mean to imply that our current mayor was doing a poor job. And I think that sometimes people can sort of feel like maybe that's the case just because of the oppositional nature of our political scene and how logic works.
There's been discussion of a potential city dog park. Is that in the works, and what's the status on that?
That is in the works. There's been 3 options talked about. We talked about at the end of the visitor center towards Silverton by the South Fork of the Coeur Lane. We've talked about on the backside of I-90 near the visitor center, kind of right below the zip line. And then also the most recent is on the west end of town where we pile our snow in the winter. And if you come east a little bit, we have like composting piles. So to be in that area, which would probably be a very good idea. It would take less fencing. There's water available. I would hope that would all be done with no expense to the city, to the taxpayers. That's one of my key things, is I don't want it to be an expense to the taxpayers. I also don't want our crew to be responsible for cleaning up after people's dogs. I mean, be responsible, people. But I think that's our best bet right now, is that section right there by the composting piles. Be a nice area. And it could be funded through advertising. We could have local people advertise and say, because people from that are traveling with their pets would pull over to let their pets out, and they'd see this and they'd say, oh, hey, here's a restaurant, we can go see this. We've got a couple of breweries in town. Oh, look, they've got some interesting museums. So we could help fund it by advertising down there.
Yes, it is in the works. Actually, I've been working on this for a really long time, but COVID derailed it a little bit. We had a Girl Scout who was lining up to she was working on it for her Gold Star project, whatever they call that. But you have to get that project done before you reach a certain age, and she aged out, throughout COVID. I was also working on it before then, and the pool happened, which was, something that needed more priority and attention. I think the current status is that we have now agreed that we want it to go in down by the freeway on-ramp, across from the visitor center on the east side, where our snow gets piled up. And I believe the people who are currently working on the project are Bonnie DeRose, Amy Lynn, and Jolene Camp Cooper.
All the dog lovers.
Yeah. There's a lot of dog lovers in this town. It's amazing. You go door to door and you see dogs at every house.
About 10 years ago, the Silver Valley Economic Development Center searched for grants in converting the second and third floors of some of the downtown buildings into living spaces. Well, they ran into issues with ADA standards when using public or federal funds. What would you do to get the funds to develop the second and third story buildings?
What would I do?
Well, I guess, first of all, is that something you'd be interested in doing? And then if so, what would you do to get the federal?
I would definitely be interested in utilizing these second and third stories that are empty. It's sad to see those empty spaces. There were other apartments through the years up there, and also a lot of business spaces. And I would love to see that. And I would be more than happy to do all I could, letter writing, making phone calls, working with the Silver Valley Economic Development to seek out monies for this.
Yeah, absolutely. We're a hub zone, and that means that we qualify for a lot of grants. I think more the issue is just having people write for them. And I think that some people probably don't even know that these grants are out there. So for example, there's some community block development grants that we can get now that we have that income survey in. We can qualify for more of those. We can also qualify for low-income housing tax credits. We could look into Section 8 housing. And my idea is that we could possibly enact what's called a local option tax on people who stay overnight in lodging, so in hotels and in vacation rentals. And with some of that revenue, we could hire someone, at least part-time, on planning and to keep on planning and zoning to do what planning and zoning wants to do, which is have them review applications that come in, and then hopefully that person could also be qualified to help people write these grants, look for this money, which is already out there. We could look into tax rebates. We could, homeowners get a homeowner occupied tax exemption of at least $100,000. Maybe we could provide that for landlords who are renting. Maybe we could provide some kind of tax rebate. I've been talking with the county about these options. I think we need to talk to the state legislature about some of these options, and then also enact some within our own city boundaries, working with our city attorneys.
The 6th Street Bridge has been delayed again. What's your plan to get back on track with this project?
Well, once again, we had a special meeting last night, and part of that meeting pertained to the 6th Street Bridge and wrapping up, doing some housework and cleaning up some stuff and about right-of-ways. And we have that, I'm pretty sure we do have that solved. So now that we have all our loose ends tied up, now it's time to start going to LTEC and the state and the federal and say, we're ready. We need this done.
It's been a long time.
Yes, it has.
Covering that in Channel 3 in 2017.
I think that it's on track. We discussed it a little last night at the council meeting. I believe that we're going to get that project up and running. We're thinking maybe by 2023 instead of 2026, which is the current official projection. It depends on the state, but we're ready, and I think that we're going to be able to move forward with it. We've budgeted for it. Most of it will be reimbursed, And I think we've done everything on our end that we need to do, and now we just need to kind of keep on the people in at the state level to be like, okay, come on. So it's essentially a matter of which projects are ready are going to get priority, and I think we're going to get bumped up.
Since you have a full-time job, how do you plan to make meetings during business hours with contractors and other officials?
Just like I've done for the last 4 years and years prior to that with City Council. I take, that's my lunchtime, or I take vacation time to facilitate that. And I also have, we have a great staff and City Council too, that I feel comfortable with them standing in as well if I can't make it. So, yeah.
Okay, do you want to silence that real fast?
Yes, I will. I reached for it before, but it's like,
I only got 2 more questions.
Okay. My pass and go so far.
Okay. Going forward in this election and potentially office again, what do you feel your strong suit is, and what's something that you need to work on?
My strong suit is I'm very available. Apparently, I'm not available as some people would like me to be. I'll make myself more available. So I'm willing to talk to anyone. I'm willing to listen to anyone. To facilitate, what was the second part? Sorry.
Just want something you need to work on.
I guess maybe being more available, which is kind of interesting because I don't know how you can get any more available than I am. And I genuinely will listen. We won't always agree, but I will definitely listen.
Yeah, you know, that's going to be a challenge. I worked at the school up there with the mayor of Mullen. And so I did see, you know, sometimes he had to, you know, bounce out. I am hopeful that if I were hired for the position of mayor, that, you know, it's not that far away. And with a little bit of planning, I think that it'll be manageable. I'm also hopeful that my administrators will be understanding. I guess I don't foresee it as being too much of a problem, especially now that, you know, we have this era of, you know, Zoom meetings. That could always be kind of a backup plan as well, if, you know, the 7-minute drive is too much.
Is there anything else you'd like to say to your constituents?
We need to have city representatives who are there for everybody, residents, business owners, and that means that we have to be fair, we have to be transparent, we have to be accountable, and we can't pick and choose who we represent. We have to represent everybody as city representatives, even people who didn't vote for us, and even people who we may not like. They don't have to all have a seat at the table, but we do have to give them a fair hearing, and I am very good at considering all sides of an issue. I, through my education, have been trained in rational detachment, being able to depersonalize and look at things from a balanced perspective. I value open meeting law and the ethical operation of government. I think that we owe it to our taxpayers to be fair, to operate our government with integrity. And those are some of the values that I would bring to this position. I care very much about not only what's legal, but also what's ethical. And that's what I would strive for. As mayor, I would always aim to do my work with courage, wisdom, and grace. And I hope that the people of Wallace will agree that I would be a good fit for this position and go out and vote for me on Tuesday, November 2nd. I would love to have your vote as an endorsement of you wanting to hire me for the position of mayor.
All right. Councilwoman Branstetter, thanks so much.
Thank you. Appreciate the opportunity.
Just like to say, I was born and raised here. I can remember in high school, as the closer we got to graduating, people saying, I can't wait to get out of here. I can't wait to get out of here. I never said that. Sorry. That's not good. I never said that. I have always wanted to stay in Wallace. God, JB. I never said that. I always wanted to stay in Wallace. It was tough. It was tough at times. There were times where I was working 2 and 3 jobs so I could stay here. So it's obvious that I am passionate about Wallace. This is sappy. It is. Sorry. Wallace has everything. It has a lot to offer. I love what it has to offer. I love the outdoors. I love that I can open my garage door and I can take my mountain bike out, my ATV out, put on my hiking boots, grab my fly rod, and I'm right there. I can do what I love to do.
Thanks to our candidates for sitting down with us tonight, our sponsors, and of course you for tuning in this evening. Election Day is November 2nd. Don't forget to vote. I'm John Webb. Have a great night.